All right. Thank you all for joining us for April Lunch and Learn, sponsored by the Pacific Northwest chapter of the International Erosion Control Association. I'm Dave Jenkins, chapter president. Our speaker today is Andy Lord, who will discuss ways to get to your NOT, notice of termination, on your NPDES permit, and which should be a challenge in Alaska with a short growing season. So I'm looking forward to hearing how this is going to work. A little bit about Andy. In 2012, Andy headed north to Alaska from Oregon. Alaska is his childhood home. Landed his current position as wholesale sales rep for Alaska Garden and Pet Supply. Andy promotes the ice melt and erosion control lines to a diverse customer base, including contractors, government agencies, and retailers. He's a certified erosion sediment control lead, a program that enhances compliance with Alaska Department of Environmental Conservation construction general permit for stormwater discharges. He also currently serves on the board of directors of the Country Lake Homeowners Association, which I do not envy you at all. Having a house in a homeowners association and knowing how people complain to the board about pretty much everything. So good for you for doing that. Okay, this webinar will be recorded and posted on our YouTube page, which you can find by linking through our chapter webpage at pnwcieca.org, or if I can use my FAA terminology, Papa November Whiskey Charlie India Echo Charlie Alpha.org. I will post that in the chat, so you'll have the website. On our website, you'll also find information on how to join the IECA, upcoming webinars, and live events such as the Seattle Regional event, September 28th at SeaTac International Airport. Please use the chat function for questions and comments. Questions will be answered at the end of the presentation. And for those of you that need professional development hours, this qualifies for 0.5 hours. Please send me your email address in the chat and I will get that to you. Also, if you're interested in any more information from Andy, please post your, sorry, I'm letting some folks in here. Please post your email in the chat and I will pass those on to him. So with that, Andy, I'm going to turn it over to you and turn off my video. So have at it.
Thank you, Dave. My presentation is going to be a little bit different than maybe some you've seen from other wholesale distributors in Alaska. I mean, of any of you that know me, I tend to keep things simple. I'm basing everything on you've all been involved in the marketplace. I'm not going to tell you anything possibly new. I'm not going to promote any products. I'm going to tell you more about what's happening in our marketplace, at least as it relates to Alaska. I do represent Alaska Mill and Feed, which the wholesale division is Alaska Garden and Pet. We've been in business since 1950, a little history, but we are now employee owned. We have a lot at stake that we always look forward to helping our customer base with. And I'm going to address some of those things now in this presentation. So let me see if I did everything correct and we'll get started. So, and there's one of the first things. I got to shut my phone off. So, what some of the present day issues and solutions to closing out projects are timing. And everybody knows, I believe, that, you know, the last thing that's considered on a project is the revegetation to getting your NOT. And the timing of that, based on the market we're in presently, what's going on in the world, is kind of what I wanted to address, some of those type of things. So timing on this, I would highly recommend you start considering in advance of when your product starts, rather than on the tail end when you're trying to close it down, for availability, for pricing, and lead times. So all of that folds into the logistics. And right now, I know I attended a meeting this morning with our logistics team, and we presently have, I think it was 26 rail cars sitting in Seattle waiting to get on barges. They're all full. I can't remember how many van loads of product we have waiting to move up, because we ship on tote and we ship on the barge for that. And the logistics right now is in chaos, only because one of the barge rail carriers went out of business, the one we used a lot to utilize out of Canada. So now it falls on just one. I know they have 3 barges leaving weekly, but they're all full. So, the logistics of things, I'm sure in your projects are going to be the same way, getting other types of materials to move forward, whether it's road projects or bridge projects. The other thing, as far as I wanted to kind of touch on, is the costs on products from last year, the year before, or pre-pandemic is just gone crazy. We do manufacture fertilizer in Alaska, and that has gone through the roof based on pricing, but we have it available. We buy on the open commodities market, so all of the things that build the the products in fertilizer, NPK, the ureas and so on, we have available. Seed within the marketplace. This last year, the seed market, because we buy all of the Alaska or local seed that is harvested up here. We have one of the only seed blending certified plants in Alaska. So we think we have enough, but what I've already incurred with some projects, people are buying in advance and or trying to stockpile. So the new cost, be prepared. We are only guaranteeing prices for 7 days. For shipping, we can only give you a quote on usually the day it's going to be shipped because of the new costs, whether it be freight and or fuel surcharges. Ultimately, using the correct products, everybody knows that solutions towards the end of the season happen regularly. We might be out of different mulches because just the supply or logistics issues. So knowing that we have all of the options available and in stock for you is going to be one thing, and we will help you with those processes. So products, location, and Mother Nature as it relates to erosion control and how that will work getting you your NOT, relies on a bunch of things. First and foremost is the proper seed. Ultimately, I know we've had instances where some of what we call lower 48 snipers, excuse me for the term, Dave, have bid projects in our state, and they use seed that are approved down there. Only seeds we sell are certified by the state through the Plant Material Center in Palmer. So everything as it relates to seed, we have what is the correct thing for any and all projects within Alaska. The next thing, I talked about fertilizers. We do have a manufacturing plant that we can manufacture fertilizer in both 50-pound bags, 2,000-pound super sacks, or I sell fertilizer to some of the major growers in dump truck or in discharge quantities. So fertilizers, we have one of them that relates that I don't believe anybody else talks about or distributes is a slow acting fertilizer if you utilize a biotic soil enhancement. We do stock, manufacturer, and I keep telling the powers to be within our company, we ought to probably trademark it as our 10-10-10 8.5 fertilizer. So, using the right product as it relates to fertilizer will make a huge difference in your closing or trying to obtain an NOT for the project you're working on. The next is using the correct mulches. We stock everything from wood, paper, bonded fiber matrix, and flexible growth mediums. So I always refer to it as the good, better, and best. Obviously paper is the least expensive. An FGM or flexible growth medium is the most expensive, but it's all dependent on the gradient or slopes of your project. If you have flat ground, you can probably get away with using paper. But if you have anything from a 1/2 to 1 slope or greater, you would have to use an FGM. Also, the functional longevity of mulches, it ranges from anywhere from 3 months to 18 months. So those are factors and things you need to consider. Obviously, the state has a deadline when they consider it dormant seeding or utilizations of at least bonded fiber matrix mulches. I believe it's after September 1st, you need to use those. So we do have all of those available. No secret, last thing, and I know we were an advocate to the state saying you can't just throw seed, fertilizer, and mulch out there and expect it to grow. You have to have water. And the only thing you can do, unless you live where I am at today in Juneau, where they do have a good amount of rain, is you have to water daily. There is no secret, to making grass grow. It will not happen without water. And then the mother nature thing of it is how much sunshine we get. Obviously, Dave talked about our short growing season in Alaska. Well, if you wait till the last minute, you've even limited yourself more in the growing season capabilities. So if you go on your project and close out sections by revegetating it as you go along, whether it's a road project or a bridge project, rather than wait till the last minute, you will have more exposure to the sun and give the plants a better time, easier time to grow. So I know this is going to be short and sweet, but I was told I only have a half hour, so I'm leaving basically the next 15 minutes for questions and answers. So Dave, if you want to jump back on and bring it up so we can do that.
Yes, thank you for that. And I probably misspoke. We have as much time as we need. So
All right.
as much time as everybody wants to stay on. I'm gonna, since I think we only have 17, if you guys are comfortable just unmuting if you have a question, we can make this verbal. Otherwise, we can continue with chat. And if nobody has questions, I have a whole bunch. So anybody have anything for Andy?
Yeah, hi, Andy. Garrett Gladshow here, Pro HNS, AKC Soul instructor here. Out of curiosity, any kind of new products out there you guys are seeing that might be worth exploring to help establish vegetation? I'm thinking like Veridol. I know we used that recently on some DOT projects with some good success, and curious if there's some products out there similar you might recommend looking into.
Well, Verdiol was the first in the market. We distributed them first, but now Profile has come out with 2 soil biotic products. One is called Proganics, which is the equivalent to a Verdiol. They introduced a few years back a second product called Proganics Dual, The advantage to that, it has a bonded fiber matrix mulch built into it. So instead of having a 2 application product process like you do with Vertiol, where you spray down the mulch, seed, and fertilizer, or excuse me, the seed, fertilizer, and Vertiol, and then have to go back over it a second time with a mulch, with the Proganics Dual, it's a 1 application product.
Interesting. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have anybody else have a question? Damon, it looks like you were going to say something.
No, just going to comment that Andy, you're doing a great job. Thank you. Do you want to talk about closure dates in Alaska, winter stabilization and all that good stuff?
I briefly addressed it. I mean, and I always get it wrong. It's either September 1st or September 15th. I know there are 3 different regions, so that might be why the date fluctuates. But if there's anybody from the DOT on, they might better answer that. And I think what Damon is talking about is you have to use a different mulch after a certain date in the year because it's considered dormant seeding. You needed a longer functional longevity out of the mulch. So it is still there in the springtime when growing season starts again for the following year.
So Andy, I've got a question. In Seattle, we have a nominal growing season of maybe sometime in April into sometime in October. Is there a typical growing season? Maybe to add to what Damon said, is it July through September or?
Well, what we like to share with customers is because Alaska has the 3 regions, it is going to be different in each one. But one thing that is consistent, we ask the customer, rather than look at what the weather is like, look at what the soil temperature is. If your soil temperature is 50 degrees, then we know that seeds can start germinating and you can have growth. If it's lower than that, the ground's still frozen, you're going to be dormant seeding. So there is no exact date I could tell you.
Hey, Andy, this is Eric with DOT. I got in a little late, but the one thing a bit crucial that I see that's missed up here all the time is scheduling the seeding. And it needs, northern region is September 1st.
Okay.
And it's critical that we just schedule that and keep it in our schedules. But could you talk a little bit about the soil sampling that Profile does for free?
Absolutely. Profile works with an independent laboratory. I believe it is in Idaho. Damon, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But what we always recommend is provide a soil sample. And if you send it to me, I will pay to get it down to the laboratory, have your soil sample analyzed, tell you what the end, what's in it, if you need to add lime, what the organic materials are in the soil. So that is done for free through Profile. All it requires is you to move the top kind of covering, anything that might be on the soil, give us about a quart baggie full, and we can send it in for you.
Let's see, I've got a question. and a comment, actually. Eric, if you're available for a phone call after this, I'd like to chat with you. And my question is, the Plant Materials Center, I know this was going to be held at the Plant Materials Center in May, and because of COVID and other reasons, that's not happening. I don't know if Eric, you want to discuss it, or Andy, if you have anything to say about the Plant Materials Center.
Well, I can tell you, we utilize them to certify our seed. I'm assuming most people know that there is a specification on seed blends based on purity and what percentage of growth each seed can produce. We utilize them for cleaning also of all the seeds that are grown and processed in Alaska. So I don't know if there's anything more you want to add, Eric, on that.
Yeah, you hit about all there, other than, it's on the chopping block, but it seems like statewide every year. But those guys, if you have questions on seed, reach out to Andy or reach out to the Plant Materials Center, because they know everything about the state when it comes to seed. Very knowledgeable.
And I guess I'll just add, when you guys told me that it's on the shopping block, even though I don't live in Alaska, it kind of spun me up. It's like, we definitely need those kinds of services in the erosion control industry. So that's my 2 cents worth. Any other questions? Okay, I've got another one then. So contracts and contracting are always interesting to me. That's mostly what I've had to deal with in my career. It's how to get things into a contract, how to get compliance in a contract. So Andy, you're saying with the supply chain issues, costs are changing, availability is changing maybe. Let's say our growing season is June through September, which means maybe a typical contract might be awarded in March, April. Contractors bidding a certain price, and that price is changing, or the availability is changing. I know how we deal with that in contracts, but do you have any comments on how that works?
Well, bottom line, I know how it works within our company, and that's why I wanted to let everybody know our pricing guarantee. In the past, we used to always say on bids or quotes pre-project award, we would guarantee 30 days. Most of the time, pre-2019, those prices were good all season. Since COVID and in the last probably 6 months to a year, we can only guarantee pricing for 7 days. So that's why, every contractor I talk when they call me asking about current pricing, because usually projects are issued well before they start up here. So they're always calling, hey, let's get some updated pricing. And, I'm out in the field constantly trying to let them know that, hey, what you were quoted back in November is not good now. Get new pricing, but it'll only be good for 7 days. So, that's the world we're living in now. I mean, I've never been ashamed to say our company is not in the business to lose money. So I can't afford to sell them at the prices, I can no longer even buy at anymore. But, it's one of those things that when the state issues a contract, you're tied to it. I know I'm in Juneau right now, going to a bid opening this afternoon for one that they're asking us for a pricing guarantee for. And it's a singular product. And the only way we can cover that is by buying it all in advance. So.
Yeah, that definitely seems like it's presenting some interesting challenges. It sounds like change orders and force accounts and other ways to deal with it in a contract. So, because I agree, you're not in the business to lose money. Same with the contractor. They've got to make money. So yeah, it's challenging issue.
Yeah. Well, the difference too, though, a contractor, the end erosion control is a very small portion of usually the larger bid. So, if they're having to rob Peter to pay Paul on other facets within it, they make less money, but I don't know that a contractor will lose money with higher prices for, revegetation at the end of the project, but I might be wrong.
Do we have any contractors that want to talk about this? Okay. Any more questions for Andy? This has been really informative. I've learned a lot. Okay. Do you have any closeout remarks, Andy?
Well, I just want to thank the 17 of you that attended. If you have any questions, you can look me up on the web and or respond to me email if you have my email address. And I look forward to working with any and all of you. Thank you.
Okay. And Ryan, you included your email address. I will pass that on to Andy. And again, if you want to check out the video later, check out membership in International Erosion Control Association, check our website, pnwcieca.org. Thank you all for attending. Appreciate it. And you guys have a good day.